new, an experimental show. You're listening to an experimental show. Who knows what can happen on an experimental show? All kinds of things can happen. So, YouTube doesn't stop. They just took off California Insider, which is a television live. I don't know if it's a live stream or a podcast, but it had it had 400,000 subscribers. It had I don't know what period of time this is, but it had 160 million views. I don't know if that's its entire history. They took it off because it comes from the new Epoch, or the Epoch Times, or the Epoch Times. And of course, the Epoch Times or the Epoch Times actually prints the truth. And they're really doing a great job of ripping YouTube and all the rest of them apart for all of the censorship they did during the pandemic that now quite apparently cost lives by not letting people hear about treatments that were working for other people in other countries even. And they would deny that because the Democrat Party, of which they are a part, didn't want people to know that. And most importantly, I think what you're going to find out is that the pariah of the Democratic Party, RFK Jr., is right. And if there had been a treatment for COVID-19, there never could have been an emergency approval of a vaccine. The premise of the emergency approval was that there was no known treatment. The fact is there were at least two used in other parts of the world quite successfully, with statistics now that are jarring in terms of the number of lives that were saved. And we pretended there was no treatment. And here's what that caused. That caused you're going to a doctor who basically didn't treat you. Wasn't allowed to give you ivermectin, wasn't allowed to give you hydroxychloroquine. Then you got treated if you got so sick you had to go into the hospital. By that time, COVID-19 had turned into another illness. By that I mean the COVID bacteria had begun to do permanent damage to your lungs or other parts of your body, and particularly your lungs. So now you were dealing with a new disease for which the remedies for COVID-19 don't work. So these complete scoundrels and crooks like Fauci, when they got hit with these medicines like hydroxychloroquine and these tests coming from Israel, Italy, even several hospitals in California, they had to do something about it. So they did their own test. They gave hydroxychloroquine to people that were in the hospital, and it only worked modestly. Of course, by that time, hydroxychloroquine didn't work. Hydroxychloroquine worked in the first 5 or 6 days of COVID, and so did ivermectin, because it actually cured and reversed the COVID. Now, follow me now. When the COVID became another illness, hydroxychloroquine could still cure the COVID. It was too late to cure the chloroquine because now you had deterioration of the lungs. And you're either going to die or you were going to have that permanently. This has now been written, proven, established, and Epoch Times is one of the few that has the guts to write it, which makes the fact that you were keeping this from people, you were killing them. I knew you were doing it when you were doing it. I saved 3 or 4 of my friends with hydroxychloroquine, which I got from Dr. Zelenko, who has since passed on, who you people made into some kind of a, who you people, by that I mean YouTube and all of you fascists made into some kind of monster. Man was a saint. You couldn't even shine his shoes. He treated over 4,000 COVID patients. He lost only 2. And he treated some with, a lot of them were in the Hasidic Jewish community and were not the healthiest of specimens. Now you can find equal statistics from Dr. McLaughlin And Epic Times gives them a voice. It's a needed voice, so it doesn't happen to us again, so you don't kill us again. Or when you did the complete disgraceful vaccine thing, Biden telling us, vaccines were going to cure it, right? And if you didn't take the vaccine, you were spreading the disease. And this is an epidemic of the unvaccinated. It's just the opposite. The vaccine, first of all, was not a vaccine. That's a 1984 lie, doublespeak, a Marxist doublespeak. Vaccines stop a disease. They don't treat a disease. That's a treatment. This vaccine lasted for no more than 4 months. That's not a vaccine. When you get a polio vaccine, basically, except for a few exceptions, you don't get polio. You don't have to go take booster 1, booster 2, booster 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I think Jill Biden has taken so many boosters, she doesn't have a place in her arm to put one anymore. And she's also had it 3 times. Tell you a story. There's also any number of arguably valid research papers that have been peer reviewed that say that it got to the point with the liberal use of or irresponsible use of boosters, it was actually spreading the virus more. The people who were taking the boosters were spreading the virus more than people that didn't. And then eventually people who had the vaccine were dying more than people that didn't have the vaccine. Certainly true of people who had natural immunity. Originally, Fauci, YouTube, and I was taken off YouTube when I said that I was going to rely on my natural immunity rather than the vaccine. Turns out that my natural immunity was 10 times better than the vaccine. Prove it. They were lying. We were telling the truth. But isn't that true all throughout, right? They were lying about Russian collusion. We were telling the truth. They were lying about the hard drive. 17 months. Trump got it from Russia, and I was his Russian pawn. Untrue. We were telling the truth. They were lying. What makes you think they're telling the truth now? Let's see. What are they spreading now, Ted? What's their latest lie to try to all these ridiculous prosecutions for non-crimes, like having lawyers and lawyers acting like lawyers.
Yeah, just keep people from running.
Yeah,
or keep Trump from running and the people around him from having any business.
Well, I used to say at one time, Ted, what are they so afraid of? Why do they hate him so much? I mean, when when you just step back in the fullness of time and you compare him to Biden, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. They're frightened of him. I'll give you one example alone. And people in Ukraine may not appreciate this because the country is so damn corrupt. I don't know how much information they actually get. And who knows about Zelensky. I would say I am willing to I'm willing to say that if you had anything close to an open mind, you would agree with me on this. If Trump had been elected, none of the people that died from the Russian invasion would have died, and they'd all be alive today. Because there's not a chance in the world that Putin would have invaded under Trump. Because I'm not going to say he was afraid of him, because world leaders, particularly tough ones, amoral, horrible, terrible, don't mistake the fact that Putin isn't tough. He didn't just fight corn pop, he's not sure of him. So Trump told Ted and I something that I'm going to share with you. He told us, which I've known for many, many years, that one of the things he said to Putin several times, just as an aside, was, don't go into Ukraine. Let's see if we can get the darn thing settled, but don't start that thing again, because I don't want to bomb Moscow. You just say it, just say it. So we asked him, do you think he believed you? He said, well, 10%. Do you know how brilliant that is? That's exactly how Reagan won the Cold War. And it's the way Z is beating Biden now because they figured out what Reagan did. And they are spending him into oblivion. Their Navy's bigger than ours now. And most Americans don't even know that because the crooked, dishonest, anti-American, unpatriotic press doesn't tell you that. And that's why you have to go to America's Maine Confidential to hear it. And you should scream it out in your neighborhoods. What are we doing with China with a bigger Navy than America? Our economy is twice theirs. And believe it or not, their economy is in trouble again. And this whole idea that their economy is just going to ascend is one of the biggest bunches of horse, you know what? And they have about 600 or 700 million people that are in third world poverty. The only poverty in our hemisphere like that is in Haiti. None of the other countries of Latin America that have terrible poverty, like Mexico and even Guatemala and places like that, have poverty like that. It's literal third world, starving to death poverty in China. And of course, they have great wealth. Before China can assuredly dominate the world, it's got to solve that problem, because that problem threatens to unhinge them at any moment. They don't have the slightest idea how to solve it. They got a solution for everything else. They have a solution for that one, because there's only one way to solve that, and that's to change their communist system, which they have partially done, but not completely. And they won't do it completely, because to change their communist system will mean the 100 million communists, a lot of them stop being billionaires. So there's a lot that you're not told, and it's a tragedy. But you've got to train your children to read. The best way to educate yourself is to read. It isn't even to go to lectures or teachers or teacher. You just get their point of view, and as long as you can listen to it as their point of view, that's great. But the minute you become submissive to a teacher, you're finished. Your intellect is shot, absolutely shot. I mean, I had great teachers. I never felt that they were all right about everything, ever. Even the greatest ones that I had. And I had some really good ones. I had some really crappy ones too, like you probably did. But I mean, it seems like this new generation just swallows this stuff hook, line, and sinker. When you watch these anti-Semitic riots and things like that. But this is terrible what YouTube did to California Insider. I never even saw this show. I don't know it. I might not even agree with it. I can't pronounce the guy's name who does it. Siamak Karami. Siamak Karami, as of October 9, both channels, I guess they have two, about 400,000 subscribers and more than 160 million views. Is that good? That's good, right? I'm asking you, Ted.
Those are good numbers.
Did you take your balance in nature, Ted?
I did not.
Did you take your balance? Give him.
That's what's wrong. Where's that balance?
Right, give him the balance in nature. He's falling asleep on me.
All right.
That is a lot.
You sound like Biden now.
Those are high numbers.
I tell you what. From now on, we'll write cards out for him. We'll write cards out for him, and he can do like Biden. Did you notice that?
So no, I was in the middle of switching a Chiron, and then as you were.
Will you keep your hands off the Chirons, please? What was the question?
We do have a so that's a large number. Yes, California Insider. Those are strong numbers, and it probably caught the eye. The problem is our opponents, even political opponents, they weaponize the process. So they'll in an AstroTurf campaign, right? They'll have people reach out to YouTube and complain about a channel. In reality, it's one organization that's getting people.
But they say they're going to be available on X. Sounds like us now. They're going to be available on X.
Yeah,
I love this. X, formerly known as Twitter. That's the way they wrote it. Rumble,
we're there.
and one that we don't have.
What's that?
Jing World.
Oh.
Jing World. Do any of you know that? Jing World? You know
Chinese.
that? Jing World?
It sounds very Chinese.
It is. But, Epic Times is
Chinese.
non-communist Chinese. That's how they began. They began, like fleeing China, and man, are they anti communist Chinese. Also, they're very pro Falun Gong, and I think across the board you get good information from them, but you get particularly good information about China. Really solid stuff from inside China, and people are getting killed to get it for you. So, Ted, tell them how panicked I was that I didn't get my copy yesterday.
Yeah,
we had to call up and get a special delivery,
and they did make a special delivery. So
and what did I find out? I found out that Mark Fisher, who was a member of Black Lives Matter, I don't know if he was a founding member, but it sounds like he might have been. He was the head of Black Lives Matter in Rhode Island, which he co-founded. He did. Left Black Lives Matter, and he now runs a Maryland-based something called BLM Incorporated. And here are the differences. BLM Incorporated emphasizes the education, entrepreneurship, financial empowerment, and parenting. Remember, the second principle of Black Lives Matter is to do away with the normal family. The first one is to do away with God. Oh, by the way, he's also a Christian and a minister. So here's what he writes. Mr. Fisher, former Black Lives Matter, who left because of the excess nature of it and the corruption in Black Lives Matter. He says that he feels much more of a kinship with the J6 prisoners. He says their lambs led to slaughter to be sacrificed as an example for all who might want a dissent in the future. And when you allow that to happen, it's going to happen to eventually it's going to turn around and happen to everyone. Therefore, he now does programs with them, with Proud Boys, and he's taken a big risk of getting persecuted by the FBI. I'll tell you that. He says the Democrat Party is a racist party with racist policies that negatively impact Black families. Black people are virtually stuck on the Democratic plantation mentally. He equally distrusts the Republican Party, which said has its own corrupt institution. However, he says, that is why Donald Trump is so popular. He's anti-institution. He can't be bought. He can't be sold. He's going to give it to you straight and keep it real. And those who relate to that love that about him. If you look at both parties and the potential candidates, including the current president and vice president, I think he's the best candidate we have. It's no brainer. And he says that he is going to get a great deal more support in the Black community than people think. He has helped the Black community much more than any president that he can think of. And he doesn't stand alone. He says more and more Black people every day are supporting him. The latest one who just went turncoat on the Democrats was Waka Flocka Flame. I mean, I don't know if this is good or bad, but who announced on Twitter, formerly Twitter, that he's voting for Trump. Look at how a Black neighborhood in Fulton County, Georgia, cheered Trump on the way to the county jail, Mr. Fisher added. Can we call Mr. Fisher and point out that they cheered me in the jail?
Yeah.
When I went to get fingerprinted and photographed, I had to pass by two groups of big cells. And I didn't know how they were going to treat me, Republican, white Republican, all this stuff. I got a standing, well, they were standing anyway, but I got a standing ovation, including, there must have been people from Brooklyn. Go, Rudy, go, Rudy, go, Rudy. Must have been people from Brooklyn. And we got prisoners all over. So we export, in New York, we export prisoners. So Justine is still with us. Do you think Prince Obama is correct that Israel should be restrained?
He hates Israel. Of course he would say that because President Obama has always been anti-Israel.
He does hate Israel, doesn't he? See, we're on America's Mayor Confidential now. We can tell the truth.
Oh,
Wouldn't you say that it is a good definition of hating Israel if you give hundreds of millions of dollars in cash to a country that wants to destroy Israel?
it's not only hating Israel, it's hating America. It's hating everyone you represent. Saddam Hussein called Israel Little Satan and America Big Satan because the goal is to take out Israel first, take out the Jewish people first, and then come for everyone else. They want to wipe out Jewish people, and then they're coming for Christians next.
So someone who at this point has to remain confidential, but I'm hoping to get him to do an interview, told me, who was a student of his communist days, of Obama's communist days, says that in his thinking, Iran is the only check on Israel. Because Israel, given its druthers, would dominate and take over the Islamic world.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know. I can't say that I see his hatred for Israel. There's no question about it. And it is so deep and it's so crushing in terms of giving incredible amounts of money to a homicidal person dedicated to killing these Jewish people. I mean, I don't understand how any Jewish person could vote for him. The guy is anti-Semitic. How? Suppose you and I knew that somebody wanted to kill Ted. Right? And we said, Ted, we're your best friend, Ted. And then we go give the guy a loan for $100,000. The guy that wants to kill Ted. You think Ted would think we were his friend?
Only if he's being taught.
Only if he's brainwashed, huh?
Only if he's brainwashed by academia, or if he's being taught the values.
If he went to Harvard.
If you go to Harvard.
He was stupid enough to go to Harvard and pay all that money.
Harvard is now giving therapy sessions to the oh-so-poor terrorist sympathizers who some of them were doxxed, which I'm against doxing for everyone, but they reap what they sow because they created this monster. They doxed people during the George.
Did they dox them and give up their identity, their emails and telephone numbers, or just their identities?
I think as of now, they've contacted their employers, some of them. And there's a truck, it's called the Calling Out. I'm not sure.
They dox me all the time.
But that's the thing. Like, I don't support doxing.
I'm one major doxed. I've been completely doxed.
Exactly. But the same people who are.
If I get doxed, they should get doxed. Why don't they want people to know? Why are they embarrassed that they support Hamas?
That's the thing.
Why shouldn't an employer know that if they're so damn proud of it?
Well, it only goes one way for them. They raised censorship on these college campuses. These campuses, they were the breeding grounds for cultural Marxism. And in order to achieve the cultural revolution, you have to completely shut down, destroy the lives, censor anyone who disagrees with her or merely questions it. And it's what happened to me. I couldn't return to campus senior year, partially because I was getting death threats. People were calling to release my home address. I was getting chased down streets. A professor.
Over Israel or over being conservative?
Over both. First, it was over
or over Trump.
It was mainly over the fact that I wrote articles about the student mob on campus that wanted racially segregated dorm options for Black and white students in the name of anti-racism. And then in the wake
Isn't that what we sent the troops into? Didn't Eisenhower send the troops in to break up segregation? But
now it's good.
I remember that when I was a kid. Thinking that was so great that Eisenhower did that. And by the way, Eisenhower was a Republican, and it was opposed by all of Biden's friends who were, running around with the Ku Klux Klan.
Yeah, that's supported by the Democrats. And all of a sudden, well, it's being supported by the Democrats again. They're going back to their roots by promoting segregation. And now, so all those people who they started. This was a nationwide campaign during the George Floyd riots to call out professors and students deemed problematic. Anyone anonymously could send a tip to Instagram pages somehow affiliated with the university. Students would post names of people they deemed racist, and your life would be ruined. And this happened to a Jewish Zionist professor that I was very good friends with on my campus. She's fine. Her life wasn't ruined, but it was a scary moment. And I stood up for her. And then I started getting doxxed too. We both started getting calls for our her firing, my expulsion. And now flash forward to a couple of years later, suddenly all these terrorist sympathizers on campus, the same people who created the monster of censorship, now they're crying because it's coming back to bite them, because they never, boo-hoo. They never realized the monster they created would eventually push them off the windmill too, like in the Frankenstein.
Cries a lot. Talib cries a lot. Does it go along with being anti-Semitic that you cry a lot? Do anti-Semites cry a lot? Would you say, Rob? What do you think? Talib cries a lot. Man, she's got a real crying problem.
She needs some balance.
Just as she's saying lies and spewing hatred. And do you think she feels like internally guilty for being such a miserable, pathological liar?
I've noticed that.
Yeah.
Right? Why do they
And say Israel attacked the hospital when the whole world knows that it was a missile from the Palestinian Islamic. What?
She doubled down on it again.
Oh yeah. Now she's backed up a teeny bit to. She's backed up to. She wants an independent investigation.
Oh,
We've already had an independent investigation.
Do you think they go to acting school? Like, probably.
No, I think they're just a bunch of amoral, horrible, miserable liars who are pretending. Yeah.
it's like when
I'm
you.
thinking of somebody else who cried yesterday too that I can't mention.
Uh-oh.
You always gotta wonder when an adult.
They told me to do it.
Uh-oh.
Hardened by the news business. Come on, are you that soft?
Yeah.
Took me a second.
People need to.
Yeah, I think I'm nothing against people crying for real. I'm not one of those people that think it men shouldn't cry or everybody should cry if it's real, but it's got to be real. It can't be she's crying because I don't know what she's crying over because Hamas killed itself. Because their 25% of their rockets backfire and they shoot themselves.
It's like when bullies in high school get caught, or even elementary school. This always used to happen all the time. They would be in the principal's office, and all of a sudden,
I spent a lot of time there.
You did?
Yeah.
What did you do?
A lot of stuff.
Were you crying in the principal's office? No.
Yeah, I used to enjoy it. He taught me how to file. And I used to work. I was the vice principal for discipline, Brother Peter, and we became very close friends because we were together so long. I spent more time with him than I did with my teachers. So he would teach me stuff like how to answer the phone. I'd have been a hell of a secretary. I would have been a hell of a secretary. I would do filing for him. I once handled, this probably prepared me for September 11. I handled an airplane crash in Brooklyn. The two airplanes crashed over Brooklyn, and it hit the high school near us, St. Augustine's High School, but not us. And all the parents of our school thought it was ours. And they were calling in, and I was assuring them we weren't hit. And when Brother Peter came back, he commended me for doing such a good job because the parents called in and said I did a good job. Meanwhile, I had been thrown out of class, probably for telling a joke or throwing stuff or, getting into a spit.
You guys used to do the spitballs in the.
Yeah, we had a great class, man. I'll tell you, we had a bowling team, and they would bring their bowling balls in, and then the brother would turn around to write on the blackboard, and they'd throw the ball, and knock them down.
Wait, what?
They would take the bowling ball and roll it down the aisle and knock them down. And then it didn't do any good because he always knew who did it. One time he went up to the kid who always did it and stuck him up against the window. We thought he was going to throw him out. We thought he was going to throw him out the window. Yeah. It was always the same kid who did it. But then we had another kid. He used to take Wednesdays off. So he used to take Wednesdays off. So one day the brother, he did something. He made some wise ass comment or something. And brother put him in the back of the room, and he said, "I want your parents to come in tomorrow." He said, "I'm sorry, brother. I take Wednesdays off. Can we do it on Thursday?" He got hit a shot. Boy, I'll tell you. I think these people like to get hit.
They do.
I was more like just jokes that weren't right in their face. So I got hit a little, but not as bad as some of them.
Give us an example. Do any stand out? Any jokes here, Mayor?
Oh, not well,
One that you can
practical.
say?
Yeah, Alan Placker and I rigged the bell, made it ring 5 minutes early,
No.
which totally discombobulated the whole school because
No.
by the
Wait, what?
the day was over like 45, 50 minutes earlier. They didn't realize it right away. So the bell was supposed to ring, let's say at 5:02. So we moved it back to 10:02. And then we moved it back to a quarter to. Yeah, well, because we were in the principal's office so often, we knew how the bell rang.
We just got word that Fannie Willis is now charging you with
Yeah, they're going to pass a law. A New York State Legislature passed a law doing what the statute of limitation for obstructing the due administration of schooling.
Yeah.
I'm
That's
gonna,
amazing. That was obviously an era before cell phones. People would catch on a little bit sooner now.
oh yeah, absolutely. I imagine the stuff they do with cell phones. I can't imagine. But it was an all-boys school, and the brothers were very tough on the discipline. But nobody ever was angry at it because they're always right. A couple of times I got hit for something I didn't do, but I rationalized it because I got away with so much that I did do that I deserved it. I never complained to my parents. If I did, my father would have done more to me. If I went to my father and I said, they're unfairly hitting me, Dad, bam. Well, they're unfairly hitting you, so here's another one. Oh, my mother would have been worse. My mother always took the side of the teachers, always. And you know something, the teachers were always right. This stuff, they fight with the teachers, they fight with the parents. But of course, these were dedicated teachers. They weren't part of the communist teachers union that only cares about protecting the perverts and the worst teachers. And I know that. I can say that with great authority. I used to offer them a great deal of extra money if I could evaluate the teacher. You let me do an evaluation system and I'll pay the people at the top. I'll give them a 30% raise. I'll give the people in the middle some kind of raise. And I'll give the people that don't register anything no raise and a year to go before we fire them. Because if you don't have accountability, you can't improve a system. Yes. Who do we have? Yeah. Can we?
Yeah.
Okay. Are these gender sensitive microphones?
I just got my hair done.
Oh, so
You don't have to. Yeah.
I tell you what you do. You just wait.
That's what I do at Newsmax
Yeah,
when
do
I'm
that. That's
producing.
okay. That's okay. I just had my hair done too. I used to have a lot of hair. Yes. Who is that? Who's there?
Here?
I don't hear squat. Squatsy. I don't hear anything.
Don't hear me?
Oh, now I hear you. Yes. How are
Do
you?
you hear me? Hi, it's Allison Guerriero. How are you? Congratulations on the new show.
Oh, well, thank you, Allison. It's great that you're calling in. What would you like to say? We got a little time.
Okay, well, we're going to keep it brief, and I'm going to come right out and say it's about the manhunts going on up in Maine. What I understand, law enforcement has left the assailants home. We're back to regular manhunts. There are more
Oh, they didn't. He wasn't in the house.
No, he was
apparently
not.
not. That is what I am understanding from my communications with law enforcement.
Yeah, that's my understanding as well.
Wow.
Well, they, you know,
So I mean, this guy is putting on a pretty good flight, isn't he?
Yeah.
Because they must have how many? What do you think they have in terms of resources looking for him?
Well, that's what I would like to talk about. I am absolutely positive that deployed right now, probably every team available at the local and state level. I mean, that's without a doubt. ATF has their special response team. FBI has a rescue team. The United States Marshals Service, their regional fugitive task forces, which you are very acquainted with from your time. U.S. Attorney's Office. And if I had to guess where the best coordination is going on, it would be in one of those fugitive force facilities or some type of fugitive center.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that for a fact. That's just me.
So you think he's, just a guess, no way to know. You think he's still in the area, or you think he's? Usually they stay in the area, but you know this guy could be different. I don't know.
my gut telling me that he is in the area, has a lot of familiarity with the outdoors in the area, and now what we do is the capability of with our aviation units, and I know that you know this, but your audience may not. Aviation has what we call that we can detect a heat, like a temperature.
Yeah.
That would be the human being giving off emanate body heat. So when they're talking about having these X-rays, heat sensors, and whether or not I think that's what they're referring to. But what we could do is pivot right now, if you'd like, to because I heard you mention on the previous show the red flag and the yellow flag laws and the HIPAA and NICS type situation. Now, do you think the audience, or would you like to ask any questions about that? Because that's really where my area of expertise is.
Well, I think we'll save that for tomorrow night or the next night, because we're running out of time. But let's see if we get any.
Well,
Let's see if we get any. If we get another call, and otherwise we'll be back with you tomorrow night. Ted, what do you got?
Yep, we have other calls coming in. They tend to come in and they wait on the line for a little bit, but if they don't get on, they'll hang up. So let's just keep on.
Well, you know, the reality is that if he's in the area, it's the local law enforcement, or maybe even local people like hunters, who will be the most useful in being able to find him. Like the people who really know the woods. Yes.
Let's go to Julie in Washington.
Hey, Julie, how are you?
Hello, Pete. So nice to talk to you again. As always, you're just wonderful. And Justine, you're just precious. I love you.
Well, thank you. It's absolutely true.
She's just wonderful.
Thank you.
And what I want to bring up was, has anybody noticed that Blinken and Lee, when he was in, and Austin, none of them have been to our border. Joe Biden took office. And with a definite invasion, I mean, it's just terrible. I don't know if you've seen Berquam's footage, but it's worse than a lot of people.
I think you're referring to what happened there the day that it happened on the 6th. And the reality is that I tried to get the other day from people that I know in the Israeli government. I tried to get a copy of their 45-minute. I guess they did a video of some of the horrible things that happened to prove it, but it's very hard to get. They're not. I mean, they're showing it. They're showing it very selectively, and it's very, very hard to get just like online or for broadcast. But I'm hoping that we can get it and maybe show it on this show.
Maybe some of it. I mean, it's pretty.
Because I have
horrific stuff. Like,
but I really believe people have to confront that and see it. I mean, I just don't think. I wasn't one of the people that thought it was terrible to show people that what happened to the World Trade Center. I thought it was really important to show people that, because people have to know the world they live in, and they have to know the world they're bringing their children up in. This is a world in which that can happen. We're going to make believe it didn't happen. We're going to hide it so people aren't upset by it. They should be upset by it.
And
they should be. I mean, of course they should be upset. Your life could be taken that way.
yeah,
The truth will set you free.
Yeah.
As they say, the world must know. And the Nazis hid their atrocities. But this time, the crazy thing is this time Hamas is actually broadcasting their atrocities, yet the Western media and the left, they still want to pretend that it's not happening, despite the fact that, unlike the Nazis, Hamas actually, they're showing off their killings. They're bragging about their killings as if it's some grand achievement.
Well, in their world, in the world of Islamic extremist terrorism, they're heroes. Look at all the celebrations there were. Celebrations in Islamic communities all over the world over what happened on the 7th. just like there were on September 11, which they like to deny. There were horrible celebrations about September 11. And I think a lot more about this. Okay. Well, so
You want to tell your story that you started with?
I was going to tell people the story about the two attempts by Islamic Iranians to kill me. So let me tell you, and then we'll finish the show. So the first one was in March of 2018, and I was the featured speaker at an event celebrating the Muslim New Year with the National Council of Iranian Dissidents and the MEK. The event was in Albania, in Tirana, and it was at their facility in Tirana, which is a very, very secure facility. And it was the first year it was in existence. These people are Iranian refugees. They were Iranian soldiers. And not only that, the National Council is a group of about 30 dissident groups that has a government in exile. And they are the single most persecuted group in Iran. They've lost over the years, many years, 120,000. In the recent protests, they've lost about 4,000 or 5,000. And you will find quotations from the Ayatollah saying they're the only group that he really fears. There were quotes from Soleimani to that effect, and from 3 or 4 of the other major figures in the regime. So they have built a headquarters. They have a headquarters in Paris, and they have headquarters in Albania. And this was a new one. And I went there as their speaker, and I also consult with them. And the day I arrived there, the Albanian government notified me and the State Department that 4 people had been arrested at the border with the plans for our facility and explosives. And one of them was an Iranian diplomat, and they were arrested and prosecuted. The Iranian ambassador was sent home, and they were held for about 3 or 4 years, and then they were sent back to Iran. A similar thing happened a couple of months later. I was speaking in Paris on July 1st, I think it was, but this time to a very large group of 100,000 people, and with a whole group of people they wanted to kill, not just me. Mrs. Rajavi, who runs the organization. Also with me was Newt Gingrich and Mike Mukasey and numerous officials, former officials of our government and European governments that support an overthrow of the Ayatollah, who are in favor of regime change in Iran. And this group was arrested in Belgium, trying to come into France. And once again, very similar situation. They had also tried to kill in Arizona and in New York and in Washington 3 of my colleagues who work on this organization. So I have very, very strong feelings about the Iranian dictatorship. You learn to develop very strong feelings when you find out people want to kill you. And the reason they want to kill me is because I have had any number of speeches that go directly into Iran through the auspices of the MEK, because they have the ability to defeat their satellites. And we broadcast these programs right into Iran and tell them about the Ayatollah. And I'm very, very proud of the fact that that has had a lot to do with the protests that are going on there, which have basically stopped now, largely because of all the killing that the Ayatollah did. And also because when Trump was the president, he supported the protests, and Biden is a very big opponent of the protests. How you can be an opponent of people protesting for freedom is disgraceful. It's absolutely disgraceful. The man is disgracing the honor of the United States. I mean, this is like Solidarity was in Poland. These are people, and here's their platform is It's a 10-point program, which includes allowing females to be part of the government. The head of the organization is a female. There are an equal number of females and males on the council. The females are warriors, like in Israel. They're all taught to fight. They were very effective fighters against the Ayatollah. And we don't support them because that guy supports Iran. That guy right there supports Iran. Who could support Iran? Who? It's like supporting Hamas. You support a government that is dedicated to the destruction of Israel and your own country, if it is your country, America. Tell me how you can give them hundreds of millions of dollars in cash. Also tell me how you can give a country that supports terrorism cash without knowing that the money is for terrorists. If it wasn't for terrorists, they would ask for a wire. Why do they need cash?
Jeremiah writes, buddy.
He doesn't believe America is the shining city on the hill.
It is becoming more and more apparent that just like Iran is behind the proxy attacks, this is the guy.
He doesn't think we have the moral high ground.
Not dummy.
On any of those issues.
Dummy is a literal, actual. Yeah, he's a puppet.
Right.
Boop, boop, boop. He's a little puppet. Yeah. This is the puppet maker.
Yeah.
The puppet.
And
That's
he
the
wants
face of evil right there.
he wants America to be destroyed.
Yeah.
They fund Iran because they support them, because they support the destruction of Western civilization and their own people, the people they claim to represent. And they peddle this all in the name, and liberals just eagerly lap it up, but they peddle it all in the name of inclusion and everyone's equal, diversity. Everyone's so equal that we all become unequal. We all become unequal to tyrannical regimes that control us from across the ocean.
Here's a letter to the editor that probably sums it up just as well as I do. Obama gave billions to Iran through his failed engagement with the #1 state sponsor of terrorism, which openly calls for killing Jews and Americans. No doubt this money ended up actually killing Jews and Americans on October 7th. Jews don't need a friend like that. Neither do Americans, by the way.
The little old lady was right.
How about this one?
Yeah.
When she told him he's a communist.
Jews and Israel don't need Obama to lecture us on our responsibilities or proportionality. Let's take a walk down memory lane. Obama bombed the hospital in Afghanistan. Obama killed untold civilians through humane targeted drone strikes in Yemen, Somalia, Syria, Libya, and God knows where else. Now, maybe they need to kill him, but he did it. Well, these people needed killing. These people need killing just as much, if not more.
Yeah.
So, I mean, this is really total phoniness. I always objected to killing the terrorists that way because I believe in intelligence. I think you capture them and you, I'm not going to say torture them, but you sure as heck don't treat them nice.
I think we should torture them. Torture them.
And you get them to talk. Well, let's call it extreme questioning.
Torture them publicly.
Well, I don't know about that, but extreme questioning wouldn't be a bad idea.
Yes.
Particularly if they have information that can save American lives. But I don't know if American lives, what they mean to him. I just don't think you would have given hundreds of millions of dollars to Iran if you cared about Jewish and American lives. Now, how could you when they dedicate themselves? Look, just the other day when they found out they were getting the $6 billion from Obama to show their gratitude, they yelled, "Death to Israel, death to Americans." I mean, how much do they want? 50 billion? I mean, 6 billion wasn't enough.
Doesn't that disqualify them somehow, right?
Well, it does to any person with sense or patriotism or
anyone who has
communism can do terrible things to you. It's the worst scourge of the last 200 years. Communism caused more lives, many more lives than Nazism. Gosh almighty, just Stalin alone, just China alone has killed 80 million of its own people. Imagine killing 80 million of your own people. The disregard for life that you have. Our lives mean nothing to them, which is why they spread COVID all around.
Cost more brains than too.
Yeah, you got to be a genius to figure out that once they found out that COVID was spreading, they didn't send all those people around to spread it so they kill people, or that they're sending fentanyl into this country to kill Americans. I mean, it's easier than doing it with a war. And we got this, whatever it is in the White House, who lets him in. At some point, we've got to realize
They've infiltrated us.
that he can't, and he and the people, and there are people around him, can't be that stupid. There's got to be something going on here. There's the whole corrupt process to this. You don't keep the border open when they're sending fentanyl in and 100 million people are getting killed. Many of them by accident. I mean, look, you shouldn't take drugs at all. But people who take small amount of drugs usually didn't die of overdoses. Nowadays, you could die of taking marijuana because they'll put fentanyl in it.
You could eat some Halloween candy and there's something in it. Like, you don't even know. You might not even have to be taking drugs. There's so many stories.
Well, because there's so much
Those
fentanyl.
stories are still coming, I bet.
Yeah.
Because actually, they had some stories in the Post a while back about cats and dogs that were dying because some fentanyl is left on the street and they smell it fentanyl, if you don't, I mean, very small amount of fentanyl is like incredibly powerful. Well, we will be back tomorrow. You can get me tomorrow at 3:00 on WABCRadio.com all over the world. And then tomorrow night, back here, 8:00 on X, formerly known as Twitter.
You got that down.
What was that, Prince? Formerly known as what?
What was he?
Formerly known as, not Prince.
Oh.
Formerly known as Yukabupa.
Or he was something else formerly known as Prince.
Yeah. Yukabupa, formerly known as Prince. and
Prince Rogers Nelson.
Huh.
The artist formerly known as Prince.
The artist formerly known as Prince. That's what it was. Yeah.
See, you got to come up with cool names like that, Justin. You got to come up with some kind of cool thing like that. Yeah.
Well, there's.
Like Prince Obama.
Even the name Obama.
Czar.
I heard of that before he came along. Right?
Czar Obama.
Much less for president.
Dear leader.
I like dear leader.
Dear leader.
Ayatollah Obama.
Well, he likes the Ayatollah. He obviously, he gives him a lot of money. He never gave me $6 billion. He never gave me 170 billion. No, 1.7 billion was the last. And it was the last year of his presidency, and he was afraid that they're going to get cut off for a while. So he sent him 1.7 billion. That's some of those were the cash laundered payments that he did, which this guy Malley did, who was working for Biden up until about 5 weeks ago. He's one of and the woman that worked for Malley is the chief of staff to the assistant secretary of defense. Now she is infiltrated completely into Hamas and Iran. I mean, they have spies. They're actual spies. But okay, we'll have more about this tomorrow. You're not going to hear this on most places, except on Newsmax and ABC and some of the commentators that you put stuff on like this, right?
Yeah, every once in a while.
And what's the website? So I get it right.
X.com. I don't know. I mean, I'm an X.
How do we get you?
Nick Sorter.
Nick Sorter on X.
It's on here. Yeah, put it on the screen.
So Nick Sorter at X.
No.
Well, it's
At Nick Sorter.
Yeah, but on X.
At Rudy Giuliani, right?
Yeah, but you have to go on X to do it, right?
Go to X.com and search at Nick Sorter.
Okay, so you go to X.com and then you just put down Nick Sorter. I'm going to do it as soon as I get off. Okay.
And we're following him around.
We'll see you tomorrow night. And God bless America.